All right, let's go ahead and get this started. So yesterday I went ahead and I had a live stream about what exactly the friend zone is, where I went ahead, defined it, and went over, the difference between, just wanting to be friends and actually friend zoning someone, and how there is actually a difference. So anyone who watched that, they're pretty much up to speed. Anyone who didn't, I highly recommend afterward you go ahead and watch that one. It's not too long of a live stream, and there was a lot of information given there. So today's stream is about the effects of the friend zone. And what I mean by that is the effects on men and the effects on women and just society in general. Now, the idea of the friend zone has been around for a long time. It's not something that's brand spanking new. It's not something that is unique to our time period, really. However, it has come to kind of the forefront of our thoughts at this point. What I mean by that is we've actually started really noticing it and started truly addressing it. However, the idea of the friend zone has been around for a long time, and it's been affecting us for a long time. Because like I said in my previous stream, no one likes to be emotionally or psychologically manipulated. Well, that is an aspect of the friend zone, and it also betrays a certain level of trust. And it can actually end in kind of rage or anger or hatred. But that comes along with someone stringing someone else along. And it doesn't have to just be in a romantic way either for the effect to happen. But the friend zone specifically refers to this situation when it's in a romantic setting. Hey, how's it going, Mexican? Yeah, no, it's an interesting movie. I highly recommend you watch it, man. But when it comes to the friend zone, it actually has some majorly negative effects. This can manifest in multiple different ways. One of the ways that it can manifest is the lack of trust between men and women, especially when men are getting consistently burned by it. Like I said in my previous stream, men also have their version of the friend zone as well. But the thing is, it's much more difficult for a guy to pull off because usually the guy has to be in the, let's just say they have to be in the top percentage to be able to pull that shit off. Whereas your average everyday woman can pull off the whole friend zone thing. And women have a hard time understanding the actual concept of the friend zone. Again, I covered that in my last stream, but to retouch on it quickly, women have a hard time understanding the concept of the friend zone because they don't experience it, for one. But that in and of itself isn't enough. I mean, you don't have to experience something to understand it. But the thing is women have to choose from a wide pool of men because men tend to be interested in a wide variety of women. So the thing is even your average looking woman can pull several guys at any given moment. And so they just consider it part of the selection process. But the thing is it's not just a part of the selection process. What it is it's keeping backups. It's keeping a plan B. And we already know that the plan B guy is definitely a fucking thing. There's been some whistleblower women that have come out and said, yeah, this is a fucking thing. In fact, I think one woman went ahead and went out and interviewed a whole bunch of women, and I think it was something like 70% of them admitted openly to, in any relationship, having that plan B guy, just in case the relationship goes south. You know, the fallback. Well, how is that supposed to make men feel? I mean, when a man's in a fucking relationship, is that supposed to make him feel confident? Knowing that he has a fucking replacement waiting in the wings at any given time, that he can be replaced just that fast. I seem to remember a song by a female artist talking about kicking her guy to the curb and how his replacement's already on the way. Yet men are somehow considered to be childish when we sit there and go, yeah, we don't exactly feel secure in relationships at this point. And that's very true, Mexican. That's very, very true. The friend zone. When women do realize it, they get even angrier than we men if you do it to them. Yes, that is very true. If a woman realizes you've been stringing her along, not only does she pounce on you, but she gets her friends, and in some cases, your friends and your family pouncing on you for it. Yet if a guy sits there and calls out a woman for it, then he just can't handle rejection, right? Or he just couldn't read the signs. It's kind of funny. Now that I'm thinking about it, the friend zone is a perfectly, or should I say the defense of a friend zone, perfectly encapsulates how women do hold men to a higher standard than even they themselves. Because not only are we supposed to be a provider, a protector, and a companion, but we're also supposed to be psychic. Hooray! But the thing is when men do the whole friend zone thing to women, they're viewed as a pig, as a heartless bastard for stringing that poor innocent woman along. Even if the woman was just sniffing around him, trying to go after his resources, even if she openly admits it, she's still a poor, innocent, defenseless, helpless woman. But a guy actually laying himself out there, actually trying to gain the affection of a woman, because remember, we're taught that persistence is key, right? Even though when we're persistent and the woman is legitimately saying no, instead of just playing hard to get, then all of a sudden the guy's a creep. He just can't take no for an answer. Why are guys like this? Now, the reason why I'm off on this little tangent is actually for what I consider to be a very good reason. Nope, you're just about on time, guys. I was just kind of, I just got done not too long ago. But the thing is when it comes to the friend zone, I think it's actually kind of an expression of a real imbalance that we've had for a long time. Women have considered themselves the prize, something worth fighting for. In fact, we've been geared to fight for them. Well, that's a problem in and of itself, isn't it? Because if a guy is fighting for a woman, all of a sudden he's possessive, he's controlling, he's not able to take no for an answer or anything along those lines. But if he's not willing to fight for a woman, what happens there? Oh, well, all of a sudden he's a pussy. He gives up too easy. He wasn't a real man to begin with. Sounds like a lose-lose situation, doesn't it? The reason why it sounds like it's a lose-lose situation is because it is a losing situation. No matter how you go with it. The ultimate determiner of whether or not the guy's a loser or not is the woman. And she can change her mind at any given time. If the relationship goes poorly, if she did finally cave in and give the guy a chance and that sort of thing, and the relationship goes badly, even if it's her fault that the relationship goes badly, I'm not saying it's always the woman's fault, but just look at divorce statistics. But if it's the woman's fault, she'll still sit there and say, well, I knew we weren't compatible, but he just wouldn't take no for an answer. Actually, there's a song that I think encapsulates that issue perfectly, and it actually expresses itself in what's conventionally considered to be a psychopath. It's by a group called Good Charlotte, and it's called Bloody Valentine. Very good song. I love that song. Because of the creepiness of it. I mean, that's the reason why I like it. But now that I'm listening to it from a MGTOW perspective, I like it all the more. But the fact of the matter is, if you're a guy and you find yourself into the friend zone, you've already been trapped in that lose-lose situation. Because if you exit the friend zone, if you just stop trying and then you separate yourself, which is the best course of action in my opinion, you do you, but my suggestion is get the fuck away. Because women that tend to friend zone tend to also be man destroyers. But if you do get out of it, then all of a sudden she'll sit there and say, oh, well, he was just interested in me for sex. Oh my God, men are such pigs. No, the guy wasn't interested in you for sex. He was interested in you for God knows what reason. Maybe he didn't know the real you. But then he saw the real you, saw how you were treating him, saw how you were treating the other little beta orbiters around you, and said, you know what? I deserve more respect than that. Fuck you. And that is a very good point, Mexican. When you're in the friend zone, if you start hanging out with another girl, all of a sudden, the girl that friend zoned you will get super jealous and start talking a whole bunch of smack. And the thing is she's not just going to be talking smack about the other girl to you. She's going to be talking smack to the other girl about you as well. She's going to be playing both sides of that field because she needs you to remain available because you are one of her plan Bs. You're her backup. You're the person who has to clean up the mess after she's done riding the cock carousel. And I'm sorry, I just love that term, the cock carousel. It just comes out so smoothly at all times. But the thing is that's a big issue. Men are expected to go into this waiting pattern for a woman. Yet, when women have to go into a waiting pattern for a legitimate reason, other than I'm not done sleeping around yet, let's, for example, say, oh, the armed forces. What happens? Eventually the guy gets the Dear Johnny. Anyone who's been in the military or knows anyone in the military in any real significant way and has discussed it with them knows exactly what I'm talking about. To those who don't know what a Dear Johnny is, it's based off of kind of a Hollywood thing. Dear Johnny, I love you, but I found someone else and I can't wait anymore. What was what name, Mexican? If you're asking about the song, it was by Good Charlotte, and it's called Bloody Valentine. But the thing is it's one of those situations where the friend zone has become so detrimental to us that it needs to be addressed. Before, lifespans were short, and so pretty much every guy was going to get a crack at it at that point. But now that we have these longer lifespans, and women are waiting longer and longer and longer to settle down, to stop going after the bad boy, to stop riding the cock carousel, to figure out their fucking life to at least the degree to where they can settle down enough to commit to a guy for at least a couple of years. Now that we've gotten to that point, the thing is the guys who are friend zoned, once they do break out of that, or the woman gets married to someone or something like that, they feel cheated. They feel cheated out of those months or even years of their lives. We're talking about more long years here. And when someone sits there and says, oh, my friend is strictly platonic, and they're of the opposite gender, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's highly unlikely. It's highly improbable. Especially when it comes to a woman. Because guys have this thing where, like, once the blood drains from our brain into our dick, we're willing to cross some lines that we, when we're staying, would not be willing to cross. Like, let's be honest, guys. Let's be 100% honest with ourselves. Oh, that's a big one right there, Zeitgeist. He brought up a really good point there. When a guy decides to start breaking out of the friend zone, the woman threatens to get the law involved. Oh, fuck that noise. At that point, just be all like, go ahead, get the law involved. I haven't done anything wrong. No. Trust me, it's worth it. It's just like with a divorce, you know, the saying, why are divorces so expensive? Because they're worth it. There you go. Yeah, and that's a very good point. When you know, guys will sit there and get to a point where they're all like, oh, should I cut my losses here, or should I try to appease her and then get out of this gracefully? I'm just gonna let you know right now, if a woman's willing to fucking go that fucking far, there's no getting out of it gracefully. Break through the wall right now before she has time to reinforce it. It'll cause less damage overall. Still gonna hurt, but at least you can get out and survive it. But I think that the biggest negative effect of the friend zone is the lack of trust between men and women nowadays. And it's rightly deserved. It truly is. I cannot blame guys for looking at women and going, yeah, I'm not going to trust you no more. I'm going to take whatever you say with a grain of salt. In fact, several grains, because I think there might be a lot of poison there. I can't blame guys for that. We have been lied to for so fucking long by so many people that guys are now getting skittish, and it's understandable. It's just like with an animal. If you abuse an animal, do you expect them to keep running up to you all happy and giving you licks and hugs? Oh, hell no, you don't. Eventually, they're going to start flinching away from you and start running from you with their tail between their legs. Well, that's what's been going on. The friend zone is emotional manipulation to, quite frankly, an absurd degree. And right now, it's getting to the point of abusive. And as Zeitgeist brought up, it can actually get to the point of threatening. I mean, when you sit there and you try to break out of that friend zone, the woman gets so butthurt over it that she threatens to get the law involved. Well, for one, if you have to sit there and try to use the law to keep friends, you might want to try some introspective. Just saying. You might want to go ahead and have a little bit of a soul-searching journey there. But at the same time, it's one of those situations where she feels that she's entitled because she, quote unquote, sank the time into the guy. Well, that's just like a fisherman getting pissed off that a fish got off the hook and he wasted the bait. It makes no fucking sense. You can't blame the fish for getting off the hook. The fish doesn't want to end up on your dinner plate. But the thing is, at least with the fish, you pull in the fucking fish. With the women, they just sit there and they leave the fish in the water with the hook still in their mouth. Oh, and the thing is, Mexican. Yeah, no. I gave you the best years of my life. Something that guys hear from their wives all the time. Best retort to that? Yeah, and I repaid you with the best years of my life, so we're even. Best retort I've ever heard. And the thing is the funniest part is, I heard that while I was on a clinical site for my nursing. Because the thing is the guy was in there. He was having some real health issues. His wife came in and in front of me busted out the whole divorce thing. She tried to fucking sit there and say that, trying to justify her fucking leaving, trying to say she's just cutting her losses. But the guy came right around and said, yeah, and I repaid you with the best years of my life. So we're even. I took care of you when you were sick. I took care of you when you were having health problems. And now you can't do the same. If anyone owes anyone anything, you owe me. Me, I just stood there and it took everything in me to not grin from ear to ear. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. Oh yeah, that's very true. Love just brought up a good point. And welcome to the stream, Love, by the way. Love brought up a good point. Women tend to be more in tune with social cues. So even if you're sitting there and trying to keep it on the down low that you like someone, that woman's going to see it. I mean, unless she's really fucking dense. But women tend to be more in tune with those social cues. But women are also programmed to manipulate that situation and use it to their advantage. In fact, Carly kind of brought up a good point. I believe it was either in the last stream or the stream before, where she said that women are doing what they need to survive. Well, the thing is they have to manipulate men to survive. Because if women just one day stopped manipulating men, oh, the shit's going to hit the fan fast. They've kind of gotten themselves into a corner where they have to keep doing this. It is a survival instinct at this point. Unfortunately for them, those old tricks, well, men are becoming immune to it. We're taking our red pill vaccinations now. And we're starting to see the bullshit. We're starting to cure that madness. See, everyone sits there and everyone wants to talk about the red pill rage, which I will talk about the red pill rage at some point. But let's talk about something that a lot of people don't talk about. And that is the blue pill madness. Because, yeah, when you take the red pill, you rage. You rage hard. And like I said in my previous video, when women take the red pill, oh, that is a fucking bitter pill to swallow. But the thing is when men take it, it's opening our eyes to exactly how fucked up our situation has been for so long. And how stupid we've been for allowing ourselves to be manipulated like this. Oh, that's a good retort. Zeitgeist said, my blatant retort to shame women in my situation. Oh, look, a woman that doesn't know any better. What are the odds? That's funny, dude. I can imagine that would piss off just about any feminist worldwide. Very good. You get a golf clap. Oh, hell yeah. But the thing is let's go ahead and talk about blue pill madness. The thing is when people are still blue pilled, they still believe those lies. They still believe the fantasies, right? Let's be honest. But at the same time, they're going to go ahead and be able to delude themselves into thinking that they're happy. Even if every fiber of their being is telling them that they're miserable. Down to the point of increased mortality rate. Now, I would love to see, in the statistics, I would love to see them break down. Because the average lifespan of men is going up while the average lifespan of women is going down. I would like to see something. I would like them to look a little bit farther into the subject matter and see if that increase in lifespan for men, if the ones that are driving up that standard, that percentile, I would love to see if those men were red-pilled a little earlier on in their lives. Something tells me the earlier and earlier and earlier that young men get red-pilled, the longer and longer our lifespans will be. And the shorter and shorter and shorter women's lifespans will be. Because when a woman takes a red pill, oh man, that's got to put a hell of a lot of stress on them to the point of having physical issues. I wasn't joking before when I said that the red pill is poison to women. Well, you see the Mexican MGTOW, if she sits there and says, well, I was younger than you, sit there and say, yeah. But the thing is remember, women age like milk, men age like fine wine. So me giving you those slightly older years where I still had full-fledged virility as well as maximum earning potential and any directions that I could have gone in, I gave those years to you. So I did give you the best years of my life because a man's best years in their life come later than a woman's. Because women, from the moment they're born, it's downhill from there. But anywho, oh, and love, I understand the whole, young men who are being raised by single mothers and all of that, being raised to be manginas and white knights and all that sort of thing. Of course, women are going to fucking do that because the thing is the more women that are honest about the situation, even if it's to provide help to their offspring, well, it's not really going to help their offspring. The thing is if a woman red pills their young son, the odds of them getting their offspring having offspring of their own is significantly lessened. Because I mean, just imagine it this way: if a kid was raised in a red pill family from the moment of birth and taught not to believe the bullshit, and they managed to remain sane throughout their life, do you really think that they would have children if they were a guy? Oh, hell no. They'd be all like, what's the youngest legal age that I can get a vasectomy? Oh, okay, it's this age. Yeah, I want that for my birthday present. But I'm getting off topic. When it comes to the friend zone, Like I said, one of the negative side effects is the distrust between men and women. Another side effect, however, is increased narcissism in women. And that's increasing ever so much. Well, the thing is with that narcissism comes a whole plethora of issues that just spread out throughout society. Especially since women's main domain is societal issues or societal effects, whatever, whatnot. So, yeah. And to a degree, Mexican, I can see a little bit of a correlation between being blue pill and religious. I can see that. But the thing is like I said in your live stream, I'm a religious person. To a degree, I'm agnostic, but I still am religious. But the thing is I'm also not blue pilled. Yeah, it took me a little while to become red pilled. And I do attribute a little bit to religion for that. But it didn't stop me. And to anyone who's religious saying that what I'm doing is wrong, I'll just sit there and point to the Bible and say, in the Bible it says to protect yourself. As long as you are not going, as long as you're not going to be denouncing God to do so. It says to protect yourself, to do what you need to live. To do what you need to thrive. And that means getting away from troubled elements. The Bible doesn't say you have to dive headfirst into the belly of the beast every fucking day of your life. In no way does it say that. In fact, I can't think of a religion that really thinks that way. Sitting there and saying that you have to expose yourself to as much temptation or as much danger as possible. I don't think there's any of those religions really surviving today. I might be wrong, but I haven't heard of any recently. Yeah, no, Zeitgeist, I brought that up on my channel where I was like, you know what, this was supposed to be a gaming channel and it somehow turned into a MGTOW channel. Damn it. You know? Hey, Valaria, how's it going? All right, Valaria's here. Now we got a party. All right, so now that Valaria's here, I will go ahead and I'll discuss Red Pill Rage while I'm remembering it. But Zeitgeist, to answer your question, I don't think there was really a defining moment. I think it was just like a culmination of things to where it got to the point where I'm all like, you know what? I cannot claim to be sane and still deny all this shit. There's way too much evidence. And I've noticed these things happening continuously. So, well, fuck my life. And so I'm all like, all right, yeah, I'm a MGTOW because I believe in a lot of the same shit. I'm seeing a lot of the same shit. Damn it. You know, it was one of those situations. So I didn't so much have the red pill forced down my throat as much as it just got to the point where not taking the red pill just seemed ludicrous to me. But all right, Valaria, red pill rage. Basically what red pill rage is, it stems from having the world truly opened up to you for the first time. Because right now, with people that are blue pilled, they have this kind of rose tinted goggles over their eyes. So they're able to see all of these perceived positives, but it blocks out a lot of the negatives that are running in the background. But the thing is that's where the red pill rage truly stems from. And people experience the red pill rage in different ways. I mean, we're all different people. Like we covered in the last channel, we're all different people. But the thing is being bombarded with that much information that can easily be perceived as negative, especially considering the sheltered life that most people live while blue pilled, is, I'll understate it and say it's a bit of a shock to the system. Figure it this way. At that point, it's the same type of thing as if you're standing there on a hot summer day and someone comes up behind you with a bucket full of ice water and dumps it on you without you having any idea that it's coming. At first, you get shocked, and then the first thing that you experience once you realize what just happened is rage. Even if it's for just a moment, it's that I'm going to rip this motherfucker's tonsils out through his nutsack. Well, that's red pill rage, except extended over a very long period of time. And it does tend to focus down onto women. The reason why is because think about how men, I mean, honestly, take an objective look at how men have been treated throughout history. Not just by women, but also by other men for the sake of women. We have been treated as cannon fodder. We have been treated as throwaway utilities. We have been treated as sacrifices. And that continues to this very day. It's very funny that you hear these feminists bitching about a few negative things that were done to women a couple years ago. Or I shouldn't say a couple years ago. About 30, 40, or 50, hell, 60, 70 years ago. But I can point back to ancient Greece. And even farther, back to written human history. And I can go, yeah, nothing's changed. Men are still viewed the same way. We're still sacrifices. We're still utilities. We're still cannon fodder. Nothing has changed. Women have been gaining more and more rights as time has gone on, with none of the responsibilities that men have to take on to have even less rights. And you see, with me, like I've said in a previous stream, I have kind of a unique perspective. Because when I was younger, I didn't like to hang out with other guys. I tended to be very solitary from other guys, but I liked to hang out with girls. Why? I don't know. Maybe I'm just a closet masochist, and even I haven't come out of the closet to myself on it. But I hung out with primarily girls. The amount of male friends that I had throughout my school years, you could count on one hand. I mean, yeah, I had a few associations with other guys, but not anywhere on the friend level, you know? But because of that, people assumed a few things about me. One, they assumed I was gay because I was also very religious. And so I was like, yeah, my dick isn't going anywhere near a woman until I'm married. Well, that changed real quick once the choice was taken away from me. But, oh no, I'm a man. I'm not allowed to talk about that. Sorry. But then, because they thought that I was gay, the girls really opened up to me. They'd sit there and talk the bitch talk. Well, I learned how to talk the language. I learned how to speak it. I learned how to interpret it. That's one of the reasons why women nowadays hate being around me. Because they try to do those little snide things. You know, the little things that to the normal ear, to someone who wasn't raised in it, seems like a little off-the-cuff comment, might be a little insulting, but nothing too big. When it's really a fucking nuclear bomb that was just launched. That's meant to sit there, hit in the back of your head, and just wait for the perfect time to explode. I see that shit. I call it out. Women hate it. Or I'll fire a shot right back. Oh, they especially hate that. I've noticed one thing about women. They hate it when a man can fight on the same terms. When a man can be just as passive-aggressive as them. Woohoo, boy, howdy. But it's just like with anyone. We hate having our own weapons used against us. It always sucks. It's not just a woman thing. Well, let's see. Let me go ahead and catch up with the chat here. Yeah, you have to back up and think about everything that everyone told you ever pisses you off and have to demolish all your mental bricks and start all over. Yep. That's very, very, very true, Zeitgeist. And that's another thing about Red Pill Rage, because now we have to go through and sift through the debris that was our life beforehand. Yeah, Carly, all men should be thrown in prison to keep us safe from women. Bars do wonders. But let's see. Valaria says, yeah, explains some of the reactions I've gotten. Glad I kept trying, though. Too many others peek, assume the worst, and choose to ignore or shame, failing to learn and understand. Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. And the thing is I can't blame women for coming into a MGTOW space and getting dogpiled by guys that are just willing to rip them apart. Them getting that true view of the unrestrained man and them going, oh shit, peace, I'm out. You know, I can't blame women for that. But to those of you who stick around and give it more than one try, I give some props. I do. It's hard walking in knowing that you're probably gonna get dogpiled on. That shit fucking sucks. It's like me going on to a fucking feminist channel. Oh, that's fun. But the thing is when it comes to Red Pill Rage, there's a good reason for it. Now, some guys hold on to that rage and can never move past it. And while I can kind of agree with that, it's all like, you just ruined my entire fucking life, so why in the fuck should I ever be happy? I kind of get that, but also at the same time, that's kind of a nihilistic way of looking at it. But then you get guys like me that still retain some of the Red Pill Rage. It will never go away. There's always those certain things, because when you see the same shit happening over and over and over again, and when it's the same fucked up shit, it's all like, why is this not changing? I've spoken out about it and people laughed at me, and now here it is. It's happening even more. Son of a bitch. And that's very true, Valaria. And the thing is every once in a while I'll get guys that get on my ass for sitting there and saying, you know what? You know, women aren't necessarily the most evil things on the fucking planet. You know, guys have their own fucking issues too. As soon as I fucking say that, you've got these hardline MGTOWs that sit there and, you know, call me a blue pill mangina, a white knight, what the fuck ever. I'm like, dude, you really think that that shaming shit's gonna work on me? I already said I don't care what anyone fucking thinks of me. Why in the fuck do you think you're so important that you transcend that rule? Damn. Hell, the only reason why I've been shilling likes lately is, for one, I'm expecting a wave of fucking dislikes to start coming my way pretty soon. But also at the same time, like I said, I want to go ahead and have a good like to dislike ratio versus my view ratio. So that way, when they start shutting down my videos, which by the way, I actually am doing the bit thing now where it's automatically taking my videos off of YouTube and putting it onto that peer-to-peer service. I'll go ahead and probably leave a link in here to my channel on there. So that way people can go ahead and watch it if YouTube decides to start ripping down my videos or my live streams. Yeah, love is tends to be a little on the extreme side when it comes to the fucked up shit, but I can't blame him. Really can't. But I'm one of those people that when I go ahead and I address an issue, I try to address it from both sides, just trying to remain fair. And that is actually not a very popular thing to do nowadays. It's all like either you choose a side or you're shit. And that's a mentality that I'm hoping that we can effectively get over. Well, the thing is I'm conservative in my views according to YouTube and Google, and they do tend to kind of target conservatives. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're hitting some lefties too, but they're only hitting the worst offenders on the lefties, and they're hitting the minor offenders on the conservative. So I hate it whenever people are all like, "Oh, well, they're hitting the lefties too." It's all like, yeah, but they're hitting channels that are talking about how to properly fuck someone in the ass. And how to politely fuck someone in the ass. No. No. Big difference between that content and my content. I'm talking about how to politely pull the dick out of the ass. Oh, don't lie, Loveless. You always do this. I'm just going to start calling you Loveless. Because love is really hard for me to say just in itself. Oh yeah, no. Zeitgeist has a good point as well. If you take the state away, things would return back to the normal balance. And how anti-MGTOW content tries to drag the conversation off into being about men's feelings. Well, for one, I don't. I don't see where it's a problem discussing men's feelings. For one, I mean, men are human too. I mean, we're just now discovering this, but men, stop the presses. Men are people too, and we have our own fucking feelings, and they might need to be considered when it comes to society. But the thing is I don't see a problem with discussing men's feelings about subjects. But also at the same time, don't sit there and try to make it all about feelings, because then at that point, it's all like that you're trying to take away the validity of the arguments, because a lot of the arguments that MGTOWs make are based off of either empirical fact or observable truth. One of the two. And yes, those are different things. Empirical fact is just something that's so true that you can't deny it, whereas observable truth, yeah, some people might have gotten to the point where they haven't experienced it quite the same way. But the vast majority of us see it that way. But again, rose-tinted goggles completely fucks all that up. And a big aspect of the blue pill rose-tinted goggles are emotions. They, you know, a lot of, I've noticed that a lot of people that are anti-MGTOW tend to only be able to argue on an emotional level. Once you start bringing logic and reason into it, it's like their brain can't comprehend it. And so they're all like, well, you have to be talking on an emotional standpoint. You can't be sitting there and saying this is a fact. You have to be saying that you're feeling it. No, I'm not necessarily feeling this. In fact, I wish I could deny this, but I can't, because here's the evidence for it. Oh yeah, Valaria, you're going to be a good fit on my channel. I hate hypocrisy like that, where people will sit there and tell men to open up and talk about their feelings, and then as soon as a man even tries to open up and talk about his feelings, that opens up that one time in his life, which it will only happen one time in his life, but where he fully opens up to talk about his feelings, and then as soon as that weakness is exposed, those very same people that said you need to open up about your feelings tell them to man up, men don't talk like that, blah 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 blah, shut the fuck up, you're a disgrace, so on and so forth. And you think and some people will think I'm being hyperbolic there. I've actually heard guys have that said when they opened up about the most basic aspects of their feelings. And I've heard that come from what are supposed to be role model figures. I've heard female teachers talk that way to guys when they actually brought up their emotions. When the guy was told to bring up his emotions, to say how he feels. I've seen that happen, and I've seen the damage that it causes. I mean, hell, the one time I opened up, I actually, I don't know if it was last stream or the stream before, but I was actually talking about one time when I went ahead and went into the counselor's office at high school, and I was opening up about my feelings about the stuff that had just transpired in my life. And the counselor got up, walked up to the principal's office, and quit. And no one told me. And so I sat alone in that office for hours. Yeah, you think I ever opened up again? No. I mean, if I'm able to get a professional therapist to quit their job because I overloaded them, why in the fuck would I open up to anyone else again? Honestly, this channel's the most open I've been since then. I haven't been this open with romantic partners. I haven't been this open really with my family. In fact, when someone tells me to open up, my automatic assumption is they want me to open up so that they can go ahead and try to hurt me. And so it causes me to close even tighter. And that is not an uncommon story, unfortunately, for a lot of people. I mean, getting the professional therapist to quit, I'm pretty sure is an uncommon story. And that's why I tell it, because it's kind of funny. But the thing is at the same time, it's one of those scenarios of, that's kind of a perfect example of how people react when a guy actually opens up and talks about his feelings. There was actually one video, if you all haven't seen it, there was actually a video that a feminist did to go ahead and try to get into the mind of men. She actually decided to go ahead and live like a man for a while, actually live a facade, you know, to the point where, you know, she was going out on dates with women, where she was, where at work, you know, she was saying she was a man. She adopted a male name, made herself look like a man, started talking like a man, adopted mannerisms of a man. And at one point, she actually went to a man's camp where the men opened up. And it was terrifying to her. In fact, the whole experience made her go through therapy. Not just the men's camp, but just the whole experience in and of itself. I highly recommend that you guys find that video where she talks about that, where she does the interview, where she explains what she went through. Quite frankly, I think every woman should have to go through that. Because that's the only way women are going to be able to understand men's feelings. Women are so open about their feelings. Guys get a pretty good, at least a pretty good cross section of it. Women don't get that. Because as men, we're supposed to be stoic. We're not supposed to have emotion. You know what else we believe is not supposed to have emotion? Machines, computers, tools. To be a man, you have to have the same attributes as inanimate objects. If you show more humanity than that, you're shamed for it. But no, we don't hear about that. We hear about the unrealistic beauty standards that women are held to. While ignoring the fact that men are supposed to be affectionate while being stern, while being fucking Adonis, while also being intelligent to a level of brilliance, yet have the humility to think that we are completely flawed in every way. Which is least fair? Which standard is less realistic? I'm honestly asking that question. And that is one of the things that leads to red pill rage. Because when a man comes to that point of the red pill, that's when the flame truly ignites. Yeah, the one that Carly just mentioned, feminist pretends to be male and learns important lesson. Yeah, that's the title of the video. Anyone who hasn't watched that, that's your homework. Trust me, you'll thank yourself for watching it. It's very insightful. It's one of the few times where a woman truly gets to actually get close to understanding. And the thing is the shock of it caused emotional damage to her. Now remember, she just lived as a man. It was either for 6 months or a year. And she couldn't handle it. Yet men are supposed to live for 70 plus years and take it in stride. So I think that speaks volumes to the situation. And I think any woman that watches that and sees what happens should at that point at least have kind of a base understanding of where red pill rage comes from. And Valaria, as far as the thing with your brother. Yeah, that's actually not uncommon. Because the thing is fathers know that their sons have to act that way to even stand a chance of really procreating. But also at the same time, a lot of men who are still blue pilled don't realize the amount of damage that they're causing to their sons that way. Now, I'm not saying that that makes it right, but I'm just saying at that point, it's actually a little bit of ignorance. And the thing is can you blame young men for bottling? Yeah, exactly. It is preparing him for the world. Because the thing is if a parent or a guardian figure treats their male child with any level of understanding, that male child might expect that they actually deserve some level of understanding. And the world that we live in, oh, it shits all over that. So this is one of those scenarios now where when people sit there and say that men who get red pill rage are just violent animals, I'm going to say this right now. They don't know a goddamn thing. They don't know a single thing that they're talking about. Anyone going through that life change is going to be angry. Anyone learning that that much of their life has been a lie, that they've been mistreated for that long, that they've been abused for that long. I think they have the right to a little bit of anger there. And remember, women have been saying lately, oh, guys need to show their emotions more. Well, guess what? Men are showing our emotions. Unfortunately, the emotions that we have to bottle, no matter whether they're positive or negative, when they're bottled for that long, they will sour. And they will turn to rage. They will turn to hatred. And when you've got that much bottled up in such a small space, the release of it is always going to be explosive. Good one, love. Good one. But anywho, so that's kind of the basics of red pill rage. I could go into a lot more detail, but I mean, at this point, going into more detail, it would go more into my personal experiences with it. And I don't know if y'all want to hear about that. But the thing is, like I said, everyone experiences red pill differently. Be very careful when you're talking to others about it, Valaria. I'm just going to be honest with you because a lot of people choose not to understand. In fact, they choose to the path of vilifying it because it's easier. But my experience with red pill rage actually came because of the fact that I started actually watching Karen Strong. She's actually how I even found out about MGTOW to begin with. But I was watching her for the MRA stuff because I noticed a few things going horribly, horribly wrong. And I ended up seeing a woman talking about it. I'm all like, okay, well, let's go ahead and get a woman's take on it because I know a guy's take on it. But the thing is when she started talking, she started mentioning a thing called MGTOW and how she couldn't blame men for going their own way. And that intrigued me. It was a concept that had never been brought up before to me. In fact, it was a concept that had been talked down to in school. Like anytime a man started showing any signs of MGTOW behavior, oh, that shit was squashed quick by other students, by that person's family. But the fact of the matter is even the teachers would go out of their way to shame these men. And the reason why I'm calling those boys men was because they were already men by that point. They were already seeing the world for what it was. They had matured farther than most of the so-called men that I knew in my life. They were already functioning on that much higher level. And they were doing it naturally. They had this natural resistance to the lies and the bullshit. But I noticed that they were constantly getting in trouble just for asking questions. Well, me, I've always been one of those ones that's constantly asked questions. So when I saw them getting in trouble for asking questions, I started asking myself, why am I not getting in trouble for asking the questions that I'm asking? So I started changing the questions that I asked. And sure as hell, I stopped being the teacher's favorite. Because I started asking those uncomfortable questions. The ones that they didn't want to answer. Or the ones that they couldn't answer. Because then it would conflict with something else that they had said. Oh God, SFM streaming. Oh, whatever. But yeah, actually, Valaria, I actually have a video on my channel. I don't know if you've seen it, but I actually tore into Peterson myself. And I even mentioned that that I appreciate the stuff that he's doing for free speech, but I ripped into him for his misrepresentation of MGTOW. And I think that was even before I was a MGTOW. I'm not sure. But I actually haven't been MGTOW for very long. People people think that I've been MGTOW for a long time. I guess maybe in some small capacity I have been, but I haven't really been officially in it for a long time. Less than a year, if I remember correctly. I might be coming up on a year though. But quite frankly, I don't care how long someone's been in MGTOW or not. People who take that leap and who actually start viewing the world for what it is, not trying to use the idea of MGTOW to just gain some level of importance or, you know, have people listen. Those people don't have my respect. But the people who actually take it on board, who actually start making changes in their own lives based off of it, and changes for the better. I'm not talking about just change for the sake of change. Now, those people have my respect. Because making changes in your life is very difficult. Because if you're making changes in your life, trying to better your life, that means you had to come to a very uncomfortable reality. And that is that there was something wrong with your life that needed the change to begin with. And that's asking a lot of people nowadays. Because the thing is if you're able to make the change, then that means it wasn't just a problem with your life and something out of your control. It was something that you ultimately were responsible for. Well, the thing is, my weekly stream with Dillgap is on Mondays, dude. And it's Sunday today. If you're here looking for Dill, you're a day early. Not to mention, I think him and Carly are working out her staying, I think him and Carly are working out on her living conditions in his basement. But the thing is when it comes to red pill rage, some guys will never get over it. Some guys will keep a small part of it with them, and I understand that. I'm probably one of them. I'm one of those people. I actually kind of thrive on a little bit of anger. Well, it's more of his schedule because Mondays are the best time for him to stream, man. Oh, I love that quote from Winston Churchill. You have enemies? Good. That means you've stood up for something sometime in your life. I love that quote. Oh, that went down the wrong tube. Here I am drowning on live stream. But as far as my red pill rage, it still flares up every once in a while. And it always comes down to when I see blatant hypocrisy coming from feminists. Because that's where my red pill rage gained the most fuel. And I know I'm not alone in that. Me and feminists, we do not get along, typically. Because the thing is feminists are used to men capitulating or running away with their tail between their legs. Whereas with me, I dig in my heels and I prepare for combat. And they don't like that. Oh yeah, MH. Oh yeah. The whole wage gap myth. That pisses me off. That pisses me off bad. Because the thing is, if you actually look at the statistics, before women go ahead and fire out a baby, guess what? They actually make more than men for the same work or less work with much less danger to them and much more benefits offered. I know that's a very uncomfortable truth for a lot of people, but it is what it is. I don't make the statistics. I just read them. But also, Valaria, when you're sitting there and you're talking about even the idea of MGTOW, I'm going to let you know right now, it's not going to make you the most popular person on the planet, especially if you live in a very liberal area. But also at the same time, it's one of those things of maybe don't talk specifically about MGTOW. You can go ahead and just ask the same questions that MGTOW asks. And the reason why I say that is because it actually gets people to think. If you're wanting people to have an open mind, get them to come to the conclusion on their own by asking those questions, because people are naturally inquisitive. They'll go ahead and look into it. Maybe go ahead and say, oh, well, I saw a study here. Or I heard this person say this. Send them on in, to someone's channel like mine, or Raging Golden Eagles, or someone like that. Who knows? Maybe at some point, their madness can be cured. Only time will tell. But a lot of people will resist the information because it's very uncomfortable. People don't like to feel uncomfortable. Well, I guess there's a subgroup of people that will, to be honest. I mean, but now we're getting into BDSM shit, so I ain't going to go that route. For one, Sin's not here, and that's when those discussions really pop out. But yeah, this is meant to be more of a serious thing. But yeah, so I guess that's as much as I can really cover on Red Pill Rage. With my Red Pill Rage, I guess when I first experienced Red Pill Rage was when I was sitting there and talking with a feminist in my nursing class. And I had finally had enough because I had already had one feminist teacher that I had gotten fired because of her bullshit. But then I had another teacher at the beginning of my nursing classes asked the wage gap myth question, which I knew was fucking bullshit, and she stated it as fact, and I was able to prove her wrong. She then asked me to leave the class. Then the dean of the school was walking by, saw me walking by, pissed off as all fuck, asked me what happened. I told him exactly what happened. He called her up in. It was unbeknownst to me that teacher was actually the head of the program, but she ended up coming into me a day later and apologized to me and said that her actions were unbecoming of a teacher and that she was sorry for it and that she would do better next time and that she would listen to a student next time. Because, yeah, the dean at my school is very much so anti-PC, especially when it comes to something as serious as a nursing program where people's lives are in your hands. Being politically correct at that point can get people legitimately killed. But the thing is there was a feminist bitch in my class, and she ended up starting going off trying to say that guys were absolutely worthless, that they didn't belong in the field. Now, I'm in the room, and even my teacher's just sitting there, just staring at her like, there's a guy in the room right now as you're saying this shit. What the fuck is wrong with you? She had that look on her face. But then after she was done, she looked at me. She said, anything you want to say? I just stood up and I'm all like, well, I have the highest grades in the class. I have the highest ratings from all of the patients. Most of my patients have overlapped with yours. You have some of the lowest reviews from patients. You have the most med errors. I have no med errors under my belt. I'm able to take a blood pressure more accurately than you while having, quote unquote, lesser hearing than you. I'm able to connect with my patients on a much deeper level than you. So if I shouldn't be here, what the hell are you doing here? And she rage quit class for the rest of the day. She got up and walked out of the class. But that's how I handle my red pill rage. I take all that energy and I put it into plain and simple terms. What she said was demonstrably wrong, and I knew that because I was walking proof that she was wrong. The only difference between me and someone that's blue pill is I was able to recognize that she was wrong right off the bat. And more importantly, I was willing to stand up and tell her that she was wrong. Because I didn't care what any of the other students thought in that class. I didn't bend to peer pressure. And that is one of the biggest reasons why groups like the feminists hate MGTOW. We're not controllable. And we can go ahead and take that bestial rage and master it to where we can change the world in a positive way. We can take a force that in any other hands would be destructive. And we can turn it into a force for good. So that's why whenever someone sits there and says that MGTOW are weak, that they're beta males, I openly laugh in their face. Because the thing is mastering the red pill rage is just all part of being MGTOW. In fact, that's our test. That's our crucible. You know who else had a crucible? The Spartans. And look at what they were able to accomplish. Look what they were able to pull off with vastly inferior numbers. And it allows us to erase the damage that we were inflicted with from being part of the friend zone, from the lies told about us, from the abuses inflicted upon us by our teachers and by society. So whenever someone sits there and calls MGTOW weak, honestly, I really don't think they know what they're talking about. They don't know what MGTOW truly is. They don't know what MGTOW actually stands for. And we're not a conglomerated group. I mean, you can tell that just from the infighting. Well, there is a saying, Valaria, that things have to get worse before they'll get better. And in this case, I honestly believe that that is truth. Why? Because of the pure and simple fact that to address the issues that we're facing right now, we have to tell those uncomfortable truths. And it's going to piss off a lot of people. It's going to make them rage. But the thing is right now, society is so tainted that society needs to go through a crucible to get rid of those impurities. So we can get back to being unified again. Right now, society is nothing but pig iron. Full of impurities and weak as fuck. But once you put pig iron through a crucible and refine it, it can become strong. And why is that? Because it gains unity. Those impurities are what separate us. And the only way to get rid of them is to burn them off. And the crucible of red pill rage is the only flame that can pull it off. First rule of Fight Club is, oh God. Well, also, Valaria, don't be afraid to mention MGTOW, especially when you're talking to guys. Now, when you're talking to women, women will attack. Because the thing is the thought of MGTOW is terrifying to a lot of women, especially traditionalist women. Holy fuck, is it terrifying to them. Because the thing is the thought of guys going their own way, oh man, that means less resources to leech. That means less guys playing the game. That means a lower payout. The dating game's like the lottery. Yeah, you can win, but what are the odds of it? Well, the thing is women know the winning numbers. Every time those balls go through that fucking tube, they know what number's coming up, in what order. The only real gamble is for the guy, because he has no fucking clue. And he has about the same odds of winning the lottery as he does finding a woman that's not going to use him for utility. And to some degree, using someone for utility is fine. Because the thing is you can't only have one person bringing something to the table. Now, if a woman wants to, do the traditionalist thing, I got no problem with that. If the guy wants to do the traditionalist thing, no issues. It works. It worked for a long time. But the fact is we're getting to the point now where more and more is being heaped onto men, while less control is being given to men. In fact, that control is being wrenched away. Yet we're still being held responsible for all the shit that we now no longer have control over. I think it's understandable that guys get a little pissed off at that situation. I mean, just imagine if you were sitting at work and one of your coworkers was to go ahead and, drop some expensive item, but the cost of that item be taken out of your pay because they said you were responsible for it, even though you don't even work in the same section as that person and you've never even seen that thing before. That's what it's like to be a man nowadays in relationships. Hell, just in society in general. But I think that in time, eventually we might recover. It'll never go back to exactly the way it was. Honestly, I think we're well past the point of no return at this point. But the thing is we don't have to stay on the same path. And again, people are on that one-dimensional thought. Either we have to move forward with the direction that we're moving in, or we have to stop and go backwards. Well, to me, neither option appeals. Because either we continue moving forward, where guys get treated more and more like shit, and we get a further and further divide, or we go backwards to where men are treated slightly less like shit, but then we get to listen to women bitch perpetually. Well, that ain't making nobody happy. But we do have another option. And I think that it's kind of indicative of the sign of MGTOW. I don't know if you're too familiar with it, Valaria, but it's basically a signpost sign where you have one main road that you're on, but then you have an off-road that shoots off with an arrow. That's the symbol for MGTOW. And I think that's very indicative because honestly, I think MGTOW is actually derailing society. We're not just going off on our own because eventually society will have to follow that, especially with the growth that we're seeing in MGTOW. More and more men at younger and younger ages are learning about this and are starting to avoid the stuff. So eventually, society will have to follow, or society will crumble. It'll smash against the wall. While the MGTOWs are just looking back, laughing our asses off. With the few women who had the sense to sit there and go, yeah, we don't want to run into that wall as well, so we're going with them. But that's where I see the problem with some of the groups in MGTOW, because you get some guys that just try to use MGTOW as an excuse to hate women. Well, the thing is MGTOW is about recognizing human nature. Female nature is part of that, but we also have to recognize male nature. Neither women nor men are perfect. I think that's a pretty fair statement. And so the thing is all of us have something to work on. Whether you split us diametrically in the middle. Yeah, like MH said, he says, I love women. I hate their fuckery. Perfect example right there. A lot of MGTOW men don't want to be without women. But we have to be. That's if we want to survive. Because right now in the current climate, it is set up for men to die. And I'm not being hyperbolic there. And that's a perfect example right there, Valaria. Perfect example. You said learn from history so it doesn't repeat itself. Exactly. But the thing is there's also a trap there. We need to look back at history to learn the lessons of history. But at the same time, we shouldn't wallow in it. Feminists have a habit of doing that. They're sitting there and taking studies from way, way back before women's suffrage and all that happened, and how women were treated back there. Old laws that have since been taken off of the books, and they're applying it to us today as though it's still happening today. They're not taking all of these changes that we've had over this time into account. They're trying to say that nothing has changed. Because that's the only way in this day and age that a woman can be viewed to be a victim just for being a woman. It's the only way. Because if you look at the modern day legal system, well, it's pretty self-explanatory. There are tons of laws protecting women and making excuses for women in their bad behavior. Where's a law that lets a man off the hook? That doesn't let a woman off the hook for the same thing. How often does that happen? Very rarely. Now it's even gotten to the point to where society's saying, yeah, fuck the law. Even if the law can't convict this guy, we're going to go ahead and still punish him. Even if he's been proven beyond a reasonable doubt that he's innocent. On the very off chance that he might be guilty, we're going to punish every single man that runs afoul of our feelings. If a woman says it happened, it happened. And we're seeing that happen over and over and over again. And yet these very same people who love to wallow in history only want to wallow in some aspects of it. They don't want to take the full picture into account. Because for those who want to wallow in history, there's this one little bit of history that I think has been the most detrimental thing to happen, not only to the US, but to humanity in general. And that is called the Duluth model. If you are unfamiliar with it, look it up. Other MGTOW channels have touched on it in much more detail than I'm willing to go into, because it will make me rage. But I'll go ahead and shorten it up. The Duluth model is the base tenets of extreme feminism in legal form to be used as a weapon. That is the Duluth model. Oh, well, you see, the thing is at this point, if you're following the law, you're still not following the law, because there's so many laws out there that contradict each other. It is impossible for someone to follow the law at all times, because they have instances of laws where one will say, if you do this, you are breaking the law. And another one on the same books saying that if you don't do that thing, you are breaking the law. And both those laws are on the books simultaneously. We have many, many, many instances of that. Then you've got conflict of federal law and state law. But then also at the same point, you have a conflict between federal and state laws and social laws. Hence the star courts. And a lot of people ask me why I'm so passionate about things. Hey, dog, how's it going? But they ask me why I'm so passionate about these things. Because they're important. Because not only do they affect me, but they will affect my daughter as she ages, when she's looking for a man. I'm raising my daughter to respect men, as well as women. I am raising my daughter to treat everyone as a human being, to take reality into account, but to also take their feelings into account. And I'm starting her at an early age on that. And luckily, her mother isn't interfering. Her mother's loving the changes that she's seeing. But that's how I do it. And I do it one lesson at a time. But I do it as the lessons come up, as she's telling me about her day, or what happened during her week, or whatever. Or she tells me something that happened at school that didn't quite seem right to her. But this is the way that, no, her mother isn't interfering. Like I said, her mother is, she's not actively interfering. I mean, she interferes in some ways because her mother isn't able to see both sides. But at the same time, her mother also knows that if it really comes down to it, and she decides to start an argument with me in front of our daughter, it's just going to turn out like every other time. I'm going to end up coming out on top. And it's funny because my daughter always ends up siding with me. I think there's only been one time throughout the history of my daughter that she's ever sided with her mother. But actually, this is a great way to go ahead and segue back into the effects of friend zone. And this is how the friend zone negatively affects women. Because the thing is like I said before, it increases narcissism above the normal rate. But then also at the same time, these women fail to create a true connection with their partner. Because if you've always got another option waiting, why put all your eggs into one basket, right? See how that works? You can never have a true connection if you have a plan B when it comes to a relationship. Because at that point, you aren't fully committed. And I think that it's funny that women sit there and say, men are afraid of commitment. Men don't want to commit. What the hell is wrong with men? Honestly, it's much more often that I hear of a woman having a plan B guy than a guy having a plan B woman. Usually a guy, when their relationship goes tits up, will go ahead and head down to the bar, get a couple rebound lays in, and then start the search again. But they start from scratch. Maybe take a little bit of time off. Enjoy the scenery. How's it going, Warrior? But the thing is it's much more often that you see a woman be a serial dater. And by serial dater, I mean, get together with a guy, date him for a while, dump him, have another guy waiting in the wings that she's been flirting with for the past few weeks or months or whatever. Date him, wash, rinse, repeat. It's much more likely to see that than a guy having girl after girl after girl waiting in the wings. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. I'm just talking about odds here. I know those pesky mathematical numbers. Damn it, right? And that's very true, Valaria. Valaria said, as I said before, some feel like their presence is equal to the gifts and favors given to them, rather than take the effort to give back and have it to be a fair and true relationship or friendship. Yeah, and that's very true. But the fact of the matter is when women do it, excuses are made for them. They say, oh, well, maybe she was abused in the past, or, oh, well, can you blame her for having commitment issues, or blah, 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 blah. But then if a guy does it, oh, well, he's just a sexist pig. Oh, he's just using these women. He only cares about sex. He never cares about anyone but himself. He only cares about his own gratification. Really? And taking someone for all they're worth, wasting years or months of their time and giving them no payout on the effort that they put into you. That isn't selfish. I mean, especially when you refuse to put in equal effort. And I understand that, Papa MGTOW. But the thing is also at the same time, remember, men are in higher and higher capacities expected to not only deny our own nature, but to run counterintuitive to it. And like I said, I believe in equality. So if men are being held to that standard, guess what? It's woman nature, it's female nature, doesn't fly with me anymore. as a valid excuse. That's the problem with equality. It's equal. That means no special privileges, no special considerations. Ain't equality great, ladies? But in all seriousness, when a guy does it, he's looked down upon. When a woman does it, she's just going for what she wants, right? That makes it somehow okay. And remember, women said that they're capable of everything that men are capable of. Well, I guess that means they're capable of going against their nature. And if that's true, then that just means they're so selfish that they're refusing to go against their nature. I guess that means they should be shamed for it, right? Because they're able to handle everything that men can handle. Well, how about a lifetime of shaming just for following your nature? Doesn't that sound fun? And if men are expected to constantly sacrifice of themselves with no expectation of payout or reciprocation, well, then I guess that means the same expectation must be applied to women. Oh, I love that video, dog. I absolutely love that video. It's called The War Against Boys. Yeah, absolutely fucking fantastic video. Very enlightening. In fact, that was actually one of the videos that really got me thinking about MGTOW. Because the thing is when I was sitting there and I was seeing that it was men facing a whole bunch of issues, I'm all like, yeah, but you know, guys are toughened up by all the bullshit, so we can somewhat handle it. But then when I saw that it was young boys being mistreated in that way as well, I started remembering back to when I was in school and how I was treated by my teachers, by my fellow students, and all that. And I'm just gonna say this: that chill that ran up my spine was not a fear. That was my rage really starting to kick off. That was the burn line. Because I started realizing certain things that happened in my life that I had just shrugged off were very much so not okay. But the thing is one way of actually enacting some level of social equality is getting rid of the fucking friend zone, or at the very least, addressing it and addressing the issues that it can cause. Because the friend zone has now become a very dangerous thing for women to do. Because at that point, they're just going to drive men away. And we're going to start hearing my oh so favorite question, as anyone who's ever fucking been on, or should I say who's been on my channel for any amount of time will know, my oh so favorite question of, where have all the good men gone? Away from you. Because they want to live. Thank you. And Valaria, I know that you fully understand what I mean when I say that women that swallow the red pill are actually swallowing poison, because I mean that is poison for the soul of a woman, because there's a lot of shortcomings that women have to come to terms with, and it's not necessarily shortcomings that they were born with, but society has definitely ingrained a lot of extra shortcomings into both men and women. It's a really uncomfortable position to be in. And anyone who takes a red pill has my respect. I mean, anyone who manages to retain their sanity from it. It is a pretty intense thing. But also, as anyone on my channel will know, I'm also a little bit of a nerd, and so I like to make movie references. Well, right now, a scene from a movie just popped up into my mind, and it's from one of my favorite movies, and that movie is Dune. And I love it because it is so fitting here. And that is when the male protagonist, the main character, the hero of the story, is being put through a test, funnily enough, by a woman who looks down on men. She holds up a poisoned barb to his neck and has him put his hand into a box. She then goes ahead and mind fucks him, basically, into thinking that his hand is burning off. If he pulls his hand from the box, he dies. Because she is slowly injecting that poison into him. But his hand being in the box is keeping the poison from killing him, but it's causing that burning sensation. And to me, I think that's the best visual illustration of taking the red pill. How long can you keep your hand in the box? And the test there is to test whether or not you're an animal or a human. Because a human will have the will to keep their hand in the box, to stay there even through the discomfort. Whereas an animal will instantly withdraw its hand and die. So like I said, I think it's a perfect illustration of the red pill. And the thing is that movie's old as fuck. Funny how those old movies and shows have predicted so much of the future, isn't it? But of course, that also might be just me projecting our current situation onto that one and just seeing a correlation there. But it's still funny. It's still interesting to me. But anyone who hasn't watched Dune, I highly recommend that you watch it. It is a little bit dry. I will admit that. And that isn't a moment because Dune is actually in reference to a desert planet, which is always dry. But the story is a little dry at some points. But it's a very interesting story. But I highly recommend anyone that's red pill, go ahead and watch that story after the fact. Because when I did, oh, yeah. The rage boner was real. But also just the enemies themselves in it. The antagonists. I mean, it draws so many parallels. But the thing is it also shows how effective standing up and using your voice truly can be. I mean, yeah, it takes it to an extreme. But we also know that for a long time, people have realized that the power of the voice can truly change the world. So use your voice. Don't be afraid to use it. Control it, because it is an awesome power. It can cause just as much harm as it can good. But when it comes to the effects of the friend zone, it spider webs out. At first, it affects the individual, and then because it affects the individual, and because we're social creatures, it's much like the grudge. It spreads. It spreads like a virus. When you see it, you're now infected by it. It's an exceedingly damaging force that really has no point. And it's born from selfishness. It's born from the need to control something that shouldn't be controlled. And the thing is we are creating those curses every single day by subjecting ourselves to it. It corrupts everything it touches. And that corruption just spreads. And yet now we have religious zealots. And that's the only way that I can describe them. Who don't realize that they are the source of the problem rather than the vector of the solution. And again, I'm going to make another reference. This gets combined the film geek in me with the video game geek in me. There's a movie called Silent Hill based off of a video game. I highly recommend that people watch it. Watch it after being red-pilled. See where you can draw the parallels. So I found it interesting. In fact, who knows? Maybe on the gaming channel, it'll also be a movie channel. But like I said, I'm kind of wanting to keep the MGTOW stuff away. And I don't need to be going ahead and drawing the MGTOW stuff into that channel. Like I said, I want to actually be able to monetize it. As soon as I mention MGTOW on it, pretty much everything's going to get demonetized. They'll find some excuse for it. So me like, you killed a pig, so that means this was Islamophobic because your character ate pork. That means we're going to go ahead and demonetize it, or something along those fucking lines. What's my view on drug abuse? I don't think that drug abuse is a good thing, but as long as you're not harming anyone else, I don't really have much to say in it. If it's your choice to self-destruct, then that's your choice, but I'm not going to support it in any way, shape, or form. I'm going to sit there and say, you shouldn't be doing that. That's a bad idea. But the thing is as far as drug abuse is concerned, I think that it's very telling that men who go to the authorities to get help for their partner abusing them, if they're being beaten by a woman, there's no place for a man to go like the same type of thing that a woman's shelter has. You know where they send them? To the same places that they send people for drug rehab. So, inadvertently, they've actually kind of said that women for men are akin to a harmful drug, and that we're addicted, and that we need to be cured. I just find that funny. I also find it funny that I can turn just about any subject into a MGTOW subject. And that right there should show people exactly how pervasive MGTOW has become and how many walks of life it can speak to. See, the thing is the one substance that's illegal right now that I really, really think should not be illegal is weed. But that's because with weed, and I have a lot of previous experience with it. In fact, me and Mexican MGTOW were talking about it on his channel in the live stream before I started up this one. I have a lot of experience with weed, and it's actually very capable to still be of your own mind while on weed. So I that's the reason why I'm all like, yeah, you know what? I don't think weed's any worse than alcohol. Because it doesn't matter how much you drink with alcohol. It's all like, at that point, it's how much resistance do you have? How much can you drink before you get drunk? But once you get to the point of drunk, it's all the same. Either you can keep your mind or you can't. That's kind of a pre-ingrained thing. Very hard to get past that. And I have to mention that because, well, I watch a YouTuber that when he's on his rants, he makes a lot of good points. But he's drunk off his ass. But, yeah. When it comes to drug abuse, like I said, it's each to their own as long as they're not hurting anyone else. So, like if someone goes ahead, gets, they take some drugs and then they go out and drive and, they're putting other people in danger, I understand taking them off the street. Or if they end up, God forbid, killing someone, I fully understand them being punished because the thing is, no one made them take that drug. That was their choice. And I don't care if it's a super hyper addictive drug. They made the choice to take it in the first place under all but the most extreme of circumstances. But I think that everyone should be held accountable for their own choices, and they should have to suffer the consequences of their choices, and the punishment should fit the crime. Sitting there and shooting up, I don't think is worth having to go through years of prison and years of rehab and then getting released back out just for your life to be shitty and you go right back to it again. What was the point? At that point, it was a waste of taxpayer money. It was a waste of people's effort. It's absolutely fucking ridiculous. Well, the thing is here's the thing. A lot of people dog on men because typically every few seconds, at least one part of the male brain thinks about sex. But they actually went ahead and did a study. I wish I had the video of it because they were talking about the study. I'm pretty sure YouTube's taken it down by now. But they actually did a study where they actually were attaching things to genitals to take into account blood flow, or should I say increases and decreases in blood flow, all that sort of thing. And it turns out that women think about sex just as often as men. It's just women don't notice it because it's a little bit more noticeable with guys. Let's just say that. Of course, this is going off of averages, but they had a pretty decent sample size too. I think they had something like 200 or 300 guys gathered from different areas. So coming from all different walks of life, all that sort of thing. So at that point, it's going to be a pretty decent cross section of society. And the same thing with women. And it was funny. But yeah, it was interesting. Yeah, it was a very interesting study, and the results actually surprised me. I was honestly expecting guys to think of sex more. I really was. Um, but that's just with me being a guy, and I'm like, dude, I'm always thinking about sex. So like, I have a section of my brain dedicated to it. Like, no matter what's going on in my life, I'm thinking about sex in some part of my brain. but um, but it was actually kind of funny because it actually turned out that when they were actively trying to induce sexual arousal, women were much easier to arouse than men. Women were more prone when some sort of sexual thing happened, or even a moderately attractive person was put on screen. They instantly reacted, whereas with guys, it took a little bit of doing. So I found that at least a little bit interesting. But I've always been interested in the differences between the sexes. I mean, ever since I was a little kid, because I noticed those differences very early on. There was one time my dad sat there and said, "Well, at some age, you're going to start noticing girls walking differently." And I said, "I already noticed them walking differently. They walk differently than boys right now." And he just looked at me. I'm all like, "What? I, I'm not supposed to be watching girls walk?" And he just got that super worried look on his face. And now that I'm thinking about it, I kind of understand it, but also at the same time, you know, he was surprised that I had actually been noticing differences between men and women. Apparently, it was something weird. Apparently, kids don't notice that level of detail. I'm like, bullshit, kids don't. Kids absorb everything around them. Oh no, my folks realized exactly when I found porn because I got busted the first time I found it. Funny thing is my dad was the one who started freaking out on me, and my mom told him to leave me alone. My family's kind of weird. We kind of got that whole reverse thing going on. Like my mom was all like, "No, he's a boy. This is what he fucking does. You back the fuck off. Let him be him." Well, and also at the same time, zeitgeist at that you kind of got a little bit of confirmation bias. So I see a little bit of a problem with the methodology. And don't get me wrong, I respect TFM. I do. I fully do. But whenever I see issue like that, I'm like, oh shit. But yeah, no, my mom was the one who always had my back. In fact, when my ex ended up turning up pregnant, um, and we did the little cutesy announcement thing, my mom actually pulled me aside and she said, "You do realize what you've done?" I said, "Yeah." She's like, "No, no, no. Have you really thought this out? Do you realize the full extent of what you've done?" My mom terrified me of the impending consequences, but I was lucky. I thank her for that because it got me braced for what ended up happening. Stuff didn't exactly come as a surprise to me. Well, and also at the same time, with lesbian couples, they're less likely to and this is a response to Zeitgeist. For one, he's using homosexual couples, and they do have a different culture about them. Let's just be completely honest there. It's not me being derogatory. I'm not saying anything bad about it, but there is a very different culture there. I know this because I embroiled myself in it for a while. I would go to drag shows. I had a lot of gay friends, and I just noticed a vast difference between heterosexual couples and gay couples. The dynamic is completely fucking different. So at that point, at best, he's comparing apples to oranges. Um, but also at the same time, males have that kind of ingrained thing that they're raised with, whether they're homosexual or heterosexual, it doesn't matter, or bisexual or whatever sexual they fucking are, whatever fucking term they fucking throw out nowadays. But the thing is we're geared by society to kind of talk about those exploits, even though we're shamed for it. But at the same time, women are told to kind of keep it to themselves a little bit, unless they're trying to be seductive. And so the thing is that bleeds over into lesbian couples. And so it's another kind of issue. So the thing is I don't know if he accounted for that social dynamic, which I don't know if he can or can't. Because the thing is it's going to differ greatly between the couples. And so that's a free variable that just can't be reconciled. So that's why I'm saying I don't trust that. I do trust the study that I quoted, because of the fact that they had gay men in there, they had lesbian women in there, they had bisexuals, they had everything that you can fucking imagine in those groups. So they covered the spectrum. And the thing is those results stayed the same even when they broke it down. It was the same result. Sexuality had no bearing on it whatsoever, or should I say sexual orientation had no bearing on it. And that's actually very true. But also remember, in the homosexual community, one of the things that they prize, and this was actually a point of contention when it came to the whole gay marriage thing, was the whole openness of the contract thing. Because in some states, infidelity is actually a punishable crime. And so the thing is they were bitching about those states, saying that one of the big things with the gay community is the openness of the contract. In other words, they'll have an agreement that they can go out and fuck other people. And that would pose a real problem to them if that law was applied to them equally. But like I said, I'm just going ahead and applying. I'm just applying reality to the situation. I'm not saying that TFM is 100% wrong. I'm not saying that he shouldn't be trusted, but I'm just saying that the methodology there has some flaws in it that I really don't see a way of rectifying. And it's nothing against TFM. It's just me being skeptical. And like I said, I will show the same scrutiny to any claim that's made regardless of the source of the claim. Because I go by I go by the mantra of try to disprove everything. After you've done that, after you've tried to disprove and logically debunk everything, whatever you have left, you can say is truth. But that doesn't mean you stop putting scrutiny to it. Because as new information comes, you might be able to debunk one of those things. But I believe in acquisition of truth by the discarding of the false. That's my methodology. Of course, that's also the methodology of a pessimist. So optimists have a real hard time with that. But you know what they say? The pessimist is the one that brings logic. The optimist is the one that brings the drive. The world needs all kinds. Okay, dog, none of that makes sense to me. So I'm going to agree with you and say that that is just weird. And I'm not reading that. And that's the thing, Zeitgeist. I'm talking about that self-reporting bias, and it comes down to kind of social pressures that happen. Whether or not someone's actively acting on the social pressures or whether it's just subconsciously ingrained in them, it's going to affect it. And Valaria, I actually kind of agree with you there. I'm one of those people, love who you're going to love as long as you're not loving a child, at least in a non-platonic way. But the thing is honestly, I think parents should love their children, just not love their children in the same way that they love their spouse. That's just, yeesh. But I kind of agree with that, and to people who are religious, remember, God says that he'll be the one to sort it out. It's not up to you. I mean, you can go ahead and object to it if you want, but at the same time, it's none of our places to judge. Um, say your piece and then drop it at that. Don't hem and haw on it. All right, later, dog. Well, it's actually very important to make that distinction nowadays, especially since you got crapshoots like Salon trying to uh, virtue signal and say that, oh, well, not all pedophiles are the same. There are quote unquote virtuous pedophiles who have the urges but don't act on them, so they're not monsters. They're still a threat. And love, I'm not getting mad over it. I'm just saying we're on slightly different wavelengths there. It's not even it's not even a thing. It's just a moral standing at from my standpoint. Um, I don't necessarily agree with it, but I'm also not going to sit there and say burn them at the stake. I just don't do that. But I also don't like to impose my will on others. Yeah, and then they deleted all those articles off when they decided to go after Milo because people were going to be all like, wait a minute. Actually, he didn't condone pedophilia. He at no point said that older men should have sex with children. He was talking about mid-aged teens. And the thing is in the U.S., in a lot of areas, 16 is the age of consent. So he was only saying like, I think it was like 14 and up. So he was 2 years younger. Not a whole lot changes in those 2 years as far as sexual knowledge is concerned. A lot of kids nowadays have that sexual knowledge before then, to be perfectly honest. But don't get me wrong, I'm not condoning it myself. But I'm just saying it wasn't like he was sitting there and saying, yeah, go out and fuck a 5-year-old. Not like what Salon was saying. But and the thing is, I'm kind of lukewarm on Milo. Don't get me wrong, I watch his shit. I love watching him piss off at I love watching him piss off all the right people. I love it. I do. Um, yeah, I have to agree, Carly. Salon is wretched. But I actually read through some of their stuff from time to time just to see if I can go ahead and get some content where I can poke some fun at them and sit there and take everyone to the zoo to watch the retards. Yeah, and the thing is also where Milo was raised. You know, I think the blanket legal age of consent is 16. Now, you can disagree with the age of consent and all that, and, you know, make your arguments and that sort of thing. Don't get me wrong. But, you know, it's all like, at that point, it was also kind of ironic that the left failed to take where he was born and raised and the type of environment that he was raised in into consideration when they're sitting there and demanding that of everyone else. There is that. I forget what the age of consent in Japan is, but a lot of people have an issue with what's called the slice of life animes because there's these high schoolers that are sitting there and having sex and no one's making a huge deal out of it. It's not being reported to the police or anything like that. It's like over there, when you're in high school, you're at the age of consent. You can decide, yeah, I want to fuck. You know? But also at the same time, if you look over at Japan, they tend to mature a little bit quicker. Because the thing is also at the same time, while kids are in high school, unless the high school itself has a policy against it, they can go out and get a part-time job. And so the thing is, I'm just saying, you know, different cultures have, you know, different ages of consent based off of different beliefs, different maturation ratios and all of that. And remember, a lot of this stuff was arbitrarily set based off of life expectancy way back in the day. Actually, very little of it has to do with religion. There's very few places where you can actually sit there and say, hey, this is because of a religious practice. Now, in places where you can say it's because of a religious practice, all right, you got a pretty good argument against it. But when it comes down to just a cultural thing, I mean, that's their culture, whatever. As long as they're not sitting there and saying, oh, once you're this age, anyone that wants to fuck you, you have to let them fuck you. At that point, I think anyone could argue very, very readily against that. But at this point, it's age of consent. It's where they consider you old enough to be able to weigh the consequences of what you're doing. And I'm not going to go too much into a religious rant or anything like that here, because I think I've had enough of those on here for right now. And yes, I do agree with you, MH. A lot of feminazis do want pedophilia to be legal. They don't just want it to be legal, they want it to be normalized, where we don't look down on people that want to go ahead and molest children. But also go ahead and take a look at society. Look at where feminists are coming from. Look at what they're based out of. I mean, hell, we had that one teacher that ended up molesting a child that was a friend of her son that was in her class. She got pregnant, only had to serve community service every other weekend so that she could take care of the baby. And then on top of that, guess what? The child's family was denied service. The kid that was molested, his family was denied access to the resulting child and had to pay child support. So it's gynocentrism run amok, because that's not the only story of that you hear. But it's just one of those situations right now where when we're talking about something like this, it kind of gets into dicey territory, because it's very easy to become a zealot, and it's very easy for us to let our biases get in the way, either way. But at this point, it's a very real problem. So yeah, it's a discussion that needs to be had, and the truth will make people uncomfortable. But it is a discussion that needs to be had, because it is a problem that needs to be addressed. Especially since it actually started to gain some traction for a little while there, until it finally got squashed out by people that actually had a fucking brain. But they're still trying to push for it, and I don't think that's ever going to stop. There's always going to be people that want to prey on children that are going to try to get that normalized, so that way they can operate unimpeded. Yeah, a woman did finally get 10 years, but the thing is it was never mentioned in the article whether or not, and this is for a false rape allegation, guys, for anyone who's watching afterwards. Love has brought that up, one of Raging Golden Ego's videos, where a woman got 10 years for making false rape allegations. But here's the thing. Those false rape allegations were against a guy many, 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 many years after the fact. I mean, we're talking in terms of decades here. Like, apparently the event happened back in, what was it, the 70s or the 80s? And he was going up for a general position, which you don't get there just by sitting on your fucking ass. That takes a lot of fucking work. That takes a lot of dedication. But the thing is she ended up making that claim when he went up to go ahead and get that promotion. She didn't know he was going up and getting the promotion, but she made the claim on her social media. She wasn't pressing charges. She never reported anything at the beginning, or should I say at the supposed time of the incident. So by that point, all evidence had died off. Human recollection is no longer viable. but she made that claim on there. It was brought to the supervising officer's attention, and so then he was denied the promotion to general because of that, basically effectively ending his career. So not only did she get 10 years, but she also has to pay him a fuck ton of money, right? But the thing is, the article didn't say if it was one of those years where she has to serve without possibility of parole, which I'm pretty sure they would have mentioned that. So something tells me that parole is a possibility. And the thing is when it comes to women, parole can happen as soon as 2 or 3 months after the initial imprisonment. So she might be able to sit there and just serve the rest of the 10 years on parole. So that's an issue. I think she should have to serve the entire 10 years. And I think that everything that she owns, all the money that she has, should instantly go to that guy to start the payments. That's my opinion. And fair enough, Warrior. Fair enough. Yeah. The thing is, I'm one of those people. I think sex ed happens way too soon in modern day schools. I am of that mindset. I think they need to hold off for at least a few more years. And the way that it's conducted is absolute bullshit. And the fact that they're trying to do they're trying to not segregate the two, that's causing real issue, because then kids are having troubles asking questions, because it's hard enough to get up in front of your fellow male peers if you're a guy, or your fellow female peers if you're a girl, and ask those questions. It's already hard enough, but then when you intermingle the two, no one's going to ask questions. So a lot of kids are coming out of it more confused than ever. And being the inquisitive little fucks that kids are, they'll figure out the answers on their own. And the only way to figure those answers out is by way of experimentation. So it is a big problem. And that's very true, Zeitgeist. In fact, I think I made a video on it. It was either a video or it was a live stream. But it was something along the lines of, it's only bad when it happens to women. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of issues going on when it comes to sex education in our schools. Because the thing is for one, like maybe in high school when kids have already come into their own and that sort of thing, then maybe bring up, the whole homosexual thing, just so they at least know that it's out there. Um, or have a thing where they can opt out of it or whatnot if they don't want to learn about it, whatever. But as far as young kids are concerned, I don't think that should be brought up, because that's going to be influential. Especially when they glorify homosexuality over heterosexuality like they tend to do. And we've also had issues now lately of teachers going ahead and basically forcing kids to kiss children of the same sex and the opposite sex in the classroom. Like actually forcing that shit. Very true, guys. Very true. Yeah. The thing is the overuse of the word rape has definitely dulled its meaning. Because the thing is if a woman says that she was raped, now I have to ask, what do you mean? Whereas before it was all like, holy shit, really? I still questioned it, but I knew what she was talking about. Now they're sitting there and they're trying to say that a man that she isn't interested in or finds gross looking at her for a couple seconds too long is somehow rape. Well, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to be a little hyperbolic here, giving everyone fair warning. But, love, the reason why women want to do that is so that way the ugliest fuck women that would never be raped in their entire life and will never have that victim card in their fucking hat can go ahead and claim it. That's the reason why. Free victim points. Women don't want to even earn the I was raped card anymore. They just want that handed to them for free. Hell, I'm waiting for a mother to go ahead and call the police because she gave birth to a male child, saying that the male child raped her because she gave birth to him naturally. I'm waiting for it. Like, sad to say, I'm actually waiting for it. I've got my ears perked up for that. If that happens, and I don't make a video of it that day, y'all need to fucking spam me with the link. Blow up my phone with it, with my notifications of you guys in there. What he means, Warrior, is if you go too far into the realms of actual bigotry against people who happen to be homosexual. Because the thing is I'm all like, you know what? I may disagree with with the lifestyle. I might disagree with that, but also at the same time, once you get to a certain point, it gets a little dicey with me. That's what he means by not safe territory. Stay at least somewhat respectful. Because I've known a lot of gay people that are just as against pedophilia as anyone else. In fact, I know less straight people that are as against pedophilia as many gays as I know. Just for example. But again, that comes with my channel for trying to be fair. And I think Love can go ahead and respect that. And I think you can go ahead and respect it. It's just kind of the rules of my channel. And I hold myself as well as everyone else to the same rules. I mean, yeah, going ahead and poking a little fun every once in a while, having a good ha-ha, it's all good. But sitting there and legitimately saying it and doing that stuff is not okay on here. That's all I'm saying. Just keep it within the realms of reality. And also, even at that point, keep it somewhat respectful. Unless it has to do with feminists. At that point, they've earned all of our disrespect. And that's fair enough, Love. And I understand you have strong opinions of it. That's the reason why I didn't ban you. That's the reason why I timed out. I put you in the timeout corner. It was actually one of those, go to the corner, think about what you've done. But I understand your views, and I'm not saying that your views are necessarily wrong. I'm just saying, not here. This is a place for fairness. This is a place for people to be able to throw out those contradictory views, but also at the same time, being a zealot, not exactly a good thing here. There's a reason why there are certain people that aren't allowed on my channel anymore. Yeah, and I definitely appreciate the stuff that you bring, love. So that's the reason why I'm all like, dude, I really don't want my channel to be without you. You bring a lot to the conversation. We may disagree on some shit, but that's also awesome. Oh yeah, the thing is MGTOW is the farthest thing from an echo chamber. There are certain subsections that are an echo chamber, but I've already addressed that section of MGTOW in previous videos. And those are the ones that aren't really MGTOW. They're just trying to use MGTOW to either spread their vitriol or trying to make their balls feel big. And quite frankly, I do pity those people because, I mean, they were hit with the world's truest handicap and cruelest handicap. And yes, at that point, I am quoting the abridged version of Helsing when he's talking to the priest. And I agree, Valaria. In fact, I put myself in the timeout corner several times. Like there have been times where I've made videos and I was watching and I'm like, yeah, no, that's breaking like every rule of my channel. I probably shouldn't post that, or I'm gonna be a hypocrite. And so I thought better of it and I reshot the video and made it a little bit more fair. But yeah, and like I said, I try to keep my channel as fair as possible, but that's always an uphill battle, especially with the hypercharged nature of the content on my channel, or should I say the subjects that are discussed on my channel. It can be kind of dangerous because you get people that have extreme views on both ends, and I'm sitting here in the middle going, all right, keep it clean, you know, ding, ding. But we've seen how that can turn out in the past, and that's the reason why I don't sit there and invite people in to have their little bickering anymore, because it's a bad idea. It ends up becoming a shit show, and I don't want my channel to be known for that. And I agree with your disagreeing to my disagreeing with my agreeing. I understand that, Lovis. But the thing is we can keep this going forever. Oh, and that's actually a thing, Zeitgeist, that they're having over in Japan, where now guys over in Japan, there's actually a service there. And I shit you not, you can look it up on your own. But there is actually a special insurance over there for if you're a man and you get accused of being groped, because you're automatically presumed guilty unless you have video evidence proving otherwise. They actually have an insurance for that, and I think it costs something like the equivalent of $15 a month for guys. But the thing is that's a legitimate thing. And when I saw that, I was just like, what? In fact, I think Raging Golden Eagle even covered that on his channel. Um, yeah, guilty until proven innocent. Welcome to a man's life. Starts happening when we're about the age of 1 minute. So But yeah, it's a thing. And that's one of the things I fight against. I'm all like, look, there are guys out there that do some shitty stuff. There's always going to be guys like that. Let's be honest. But that doesn't mean every guy's out there constantly doing shitty stuff. And also, just because I have a dick does not mean I want to fuck everything that moves. There have been plenty of women that have come on to me and I've been like, no. Hell, there was one woman that just could not fucking take no for an answer. She thought for some odd reason that I was playing hard to get. She got the roles completely fucking reversed. And finally, I just had to be honest with her and I just had to look at her and go, look, I would rather go spoon a lathe than have sex with you. Get the fuck away from me. Of course, I was drunk as shit. But I was also at a bar. I got a lot of applause. Because this woman apparently was notorious for going after guys at the bar and just not taking no for an answer. Apparently, like the week before, she had pestered a guy so much that he took her out to the car, let her suck his dick, just so she would leave him alone. Now, reverse that scenario. If a guy was running around doing that shit, how long do you think it would be until he had the cops called on him and his ass thrown in jail? Especially if he pressured a woman into a similar situation. And I agree with you, Valaria. It shouldn't be a man's world being guilty until proven innocent. But it is what it is. That's part of Red Pill, is addressing reality. We can go ahead and try to change it, but that's going to be an uphill change, because the thing is for men to stop being viewed as guilty until proven innocent, that means that we're going to have to acknowledge that not every woman is this hyper virtuous being that is capable of doing no wrong, nor are they capable of even conceiving of a lie. And to that I say, good luck, Godspeed, because gynocentrism is the flavor of the day, and we will never get past it. The only thing that we can do is lessen its effects. It will be there for as long as humanity exists, unless women keep pushing their luck, because they're getting rid of gynocentrism right quick and in a hurry. And it's MGTOW. Because go ahead and figure it this way. Why is it on a lot of MGTOWs? There's almost always a video of women getting wrecked by guys finally hitting that point of shut the fuck up and them bitch slapping the guy to the ground. The reason why is because, oh, that right there is hate porn for a MGTOW. Oh, don't worry. If society falls apart, MGTOW will be there to rebuild it in a much better image. But also at the same point, that means women are going to have to come crawling to the MGTOWs, the only true men left. And MGTOWs aren't going to be nice about it. At that point, women had better be expecting the, all right, you want us back? Bend over. Because you're about to get it as well as you've been throwing it out. I'm just going to be honest. Like me, my favorite sex is a rage fuck nowadays. I think I've lost the capacity to be gentle anymore. That's just me personally. But that's because I'd rather feel rage than what these other dipshits call love. Because I can at least easily get over rage. No, no, no. Rage fuck with a hate boner. Love. Let's get it right. I still say on this channel I should make my little key saying pants down, dicks up in reference to the hate boner. I really should. I should listen to the people from early on. Nah, Dilly gets first dibs on Carly, but don't worry. There's plenty of other women out there that are willing to be submissive for the point of survival. There's plenty of them out there. But the thing is I don't have a problem with women. I just respect the amount of damage that they can cause in the current social and legal climate. I'm not above sex, but I'm not having sex again with a woman until I get snipped, just to be sure. Oh, Carly, don't underestimate MGTOW. Anything with pussy and tits, a guy can go ahead and get a hate boner on for that. Not saying that the thing with pussy and tits won't enjoy it, but hey. Psychite says he elects me as the MGTOW sloganeer. But yeah, I mean, the thing is I'm just one of those people right now that, as far as relationships are concerned, I have the idea of relationships on the back burner. Maybe when I get a little bit older, if I find a woman that I think is worth my time, I'll go ahead and do it. But you know, a lot of changes are going to have to happen before that point. Because I am not suicidal. And at this point, getting into a relationship for guys, I mean, it's playing Russian roulette, and I'm not quite ready to play that game again. Because yeah, I lost at Russian roulette, but the thing is it was only a flesh wound. I got out lucky, but it doesn't mean I'm chomping at the bit to do it again. So, I mean, honestly, if women want to fix the issue, and it is up to women to fix it at this point, because really, unless guys just go ahead and completely retake over again, I really don't see a way that guys can really fix any of the issues. Guys have tried to do everything that we could, and unfortunately, it was kind of a one-off thing. It was a last-ditch effort. It failed, so now it's up to women. Women have to fix the issue. Women have to stop viewing men as tools and start viewing us as people. Once that happens, then we might be able to start getting the changes going. But with modern day feminism the way it is, and with the way that social justice is, there's way too many stumbling blocks there, and I really don't think women can traverse it. Um, but women are going to have to recognize that fucking men realize this. Men look around. we're not like a horse with blinders on. And the thing is Valaria, that's kind of dangerous for you to say to me. She says, my suggestion, do what you love and you might find someone you'll love there. And yeah, even then, probably even then, the issue needs to be fixed. It is weighted so heavily to one side. But the thing is what I love to do is play video games. And I could find someone that I love there. It's just it would be in digital form. That's the sad truth of it. And the thing is yes, Valaria is a she. At least I think. I'm pretty sure. But in fact, I might have Valaria on to talk on one of my streams if she ends up wanting to. Same thing with Carly. Might go ahead and have Carly on. But the thing is at this point, I mean, and I'm just going with percentages here, but the thing is odds are I could find more affection from a computer program at this point with less risk than I could from a woman. And that is a very sad truth. Well, the thing is Valaria is actually trying to figure out the situation. Valaria has noticed that something is horribly, horribly wrong, and she's trying to figure out what the hell is going on. And who knows, Valaria might have a lot of things in common with guys as far as likes and dislikes. So at that point, that's awesome. But yeah, I'm to the point now where I'm kind of losing a little bit of hope in that certain subsection of our humanity. Well, the thing is if I get you on here, Valaria, I can go ahead and I can go ahead and increase your volume, and I can decrease my volume, or I could even mute myself while you're talking, just so I can't interrupt, because I know I can kind of be an overbearing personality. I recognize that about myself. It's a character flaw. And yeah, I do believe that, Zeitgeist. Honestly, I think I really do think that sex bots are going to be a thing, and I think that'll be the big wake up call to women once men start preferring robots to them. But again, at that point, let's just go ahead and be honest. That little wake up call will just be them getting a taste of their own medicine. So, and I mean, that is kind of depressing. I mean, when you really think about it, it is depressing. That cyber companionship could be better than person-to-person companionship. That there's even the possibility of a computer program understanding someone better than other people. It breaks my heart. Honestly, what I would look forward to, and I wish that it would happen in my lifetime, it might, but there's actually an anime called SAO. And any gamer that watches anime knows what SAO is. If that technology was to come out for full dive systems and all that, oh, yeah, the world would lose me to it. I mean, you might be able to watch me stream, but that's about it. But I mean, it's just one of those things of, at this point, I can't blame guys for retreating to video games and to digital dating games, or companion simulators, to fill that void. I really can't. With the way that men have been treated and the way that things are going, it's only going to get worse. Oh yeah, no, it was funny. As soon as the artificial womb came into play, along with the whole news of sex bots, and the first wave of sex bots, which, let's be honest, aren't really all that great, but they get the job done. And then the news of the artificial womb, oh, the freak out, palatable. Oh, that was that. Oh man, man, the news companies owe me a new zipper on that one. I got such a rage boner. Oh yeah, it was just all like, oh yes. Oh, oh no, it was women that were freaking out about the artificial womb. Oh yeah, okay, I get what you were saying. All right, it was broken up kind of weird there, Valaria. It retracted, but yeah, yeah, no, women, they were sitting there and going, oh well, it's awesome because we can go ahead and take the DNA from a female egg and go ahead and inject it into another female egg, and it's just the same as using a sperm, and you still get all that, and you're guaranteed to get a girl. It's all like, yeah, but you're not going to have the genetic variation, and women tend to be very picky. So guess what? One of y'all is going to get farmed for eggs. Oh, that's an interesting dream there, Lovelace. Says, to be honest, my plan now is to save enough money to travel the world and be like Genghis Khan and just impregnate as many women as possible, then come back to the U.S. That's my dream anyway. Oh, that's funny, Carly. That's funny. Yeah, I was actually going to ask that. I'm all like, if a guy impregnates enough women, does he just get to be immune from child support, but he's never allowed to earn any money? Is that what happens? Because eventually you're going to hit that boiling point. And you notice that they're not trying to block. In fact, they're trying to accelerate the whole females being able to reproduce without males. They're trying to accelerate the research into that technology, or at least feminists and leftists are. But they're trying to actively block companion bots, sex bots, and all that, except the ones that are made for women. They want those there, but they're saying that the ones that are made for men, well, all it is them being able to rape and abuse a robot. Um, the thing is as far as making eggs from male DNA, what they're talking about there is taking skin cells, stress, putting them through stress to create basically unspecialized cells. But there is a problem with that, so I don't really foresee that going too far. But I might be wrong; they might be able to pull it off. Um, but the thing is we could go ahead and take eggs from any compatible mammal that has about the same structure as far as the eggs are concerned, as far as the outside, and go ahead and do it that way, in the same way that we would with women. Just we take the DNA from 2 sperm. But at that point, we could go ahead, get male children or female children. And I think that it's funny that women have constantly bitched about sex toys for men when women have had sex toys for much longer. And women's sex toys are much more unrealistic. Just saying. Anyone who wants to argue with me, I challenge you to go out and look up a porn called King of Dong. Go ahead and do that. I am so sorry that you now need eye bleach. But it is a thing. Oh, and women are sitting there trying to say that if the sex bots are able to move, that women don't have something like that. Yeah, women do. They've had it for a long time. Oh, Valaria, I recommend that you don't look that up. I really do. Because one, that might give you an unrealistic expectation of men, and two, it might cause you pain just from watching it. Um, Literally, it's a dildo that's as tall as the average human leg, pretty much. Actually, I think a little bit taller. And then, as far as how big it is around, it's about as big around as the average human thigh. And yes, a woman puts that inside of her. That is a thing. So, me sitting there looking as a guy, I'm like, dude, even if I was a woman, I would look at that and go, oh, hell no. Valeria orders it immediately, Love says. I mean, don't get me wrong. You know, extreme insertion porn is interesting just to see the limitations of the human body. But to me, it's not a sexy thing. Because I'm sitting there and I'm looking, I'm all like, oh, here's this gorgeous fucking woman, and now she is wrecked for life. No guy out there is going to be able to satisfy her after this. No guy's going to stand a chance. Yeah, fair enough, fair enough. There you go, Valaria. Valaria gets it. But yeah, it's just like, oh my, why? Why would someone do that to themselves? But I mean, I remember thinking the same thing about that porn. You know, it was on the same level of infamous as Two Girls, One Cup, where the guy was sitting there letting a donkey fuck him, and he ends up dying from it, and you actually hear the death grunt from it going full in and just fucking ripping apart his insides. The guy ended up dying from it. It's the same type of thing. I'm like, what would possess you to do that? And remember, this is coming from someone who watches hentai. All right? You know, I watch some weird shit. And I'm sitting there saying, yeah, that's a little not okay. Oh yeah, no, watching something like that, like honestly, if a woman looks at that, I mean, that's a pretty good shit test right there. Just go ahead and put on that fucking porno. And if the woman sits there and slaps you and walks out of the room, you got yourself a keeper. If she's sitting there watching with this look of amazement, run. I mean, oh, Jesus. Because I'm sorry, if a woman's looking at that, with kind of an interested look, you know for a fact that she knows what it's like to be ran through by a basketball team in rapid succession. So that's that little mini rant done. But no, it's one of those situations where I look at at this stuff and I'm like, and yet women sit there and say that guys are unreasonable with our expectations of beauty. You know what guys want? Neoteny. That's it. That's not hard. It's really not. And I'm not sure if Valaria knows what neoteny actually is, because I know that Valaria is new to the channel. Well, relatively new. But guys just want that neoteny, you know? And I don't think that that's a bad thing. Being attracted to a youthful appearance or, those useful mannerisms isn't a bad thing. I mean, we're geared toward it. So, of course, why not? But yeah, pretty much, Valaria. It's basically the keeping of childlike or youthful features into maturity. An energizing personality is part of it, or a bubbly personality, if you want to call it that. But then also, the slightly bigger eyes. Women have learned to fake that with makeup. And in fact, I'm actually going to be going ahead and doing a live stream sometime soon. Keep an eye out for it on how women are trying to get it to where if a guy lies during a date about like how much he makes or whether or not that sports car is actually his or not, whatever, whatnot, that it be considered rape. I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'm going to be bringing up a few little things that women do. So keep an eye out for that one. But the thing is it's not really that hard of a thing, and not to mention guys actually want companionship, true companionship. But the thing is a lot of women now really can't offer that because, like I said, they don't view men as fellow humans. They view men as utilities or as tools, a means to an end. You can't give true companionship when you view the other person that way. You can't. Oh, Valaria, you want to show up for that live stream. Don't worry, I'll label it pretty clearly. You'll want to show up to that live stream. I got a lot of shit in the wings for that one. That's actually a live stream that I've been kind of brewing up for about a month now. Like this live stream and the live stream before and the live stream before that, those are all off the cuff. Those are just off the top of my head. But this live stream that I'm wanting to talk about, oh yeah. This one's been brewing for a while. Well, the thing is I think women do still want companionship, but the thing is their idea of companionship has been misconstrued. And part of that can be attributed to Hollywood and, you know, romance novels and so on and so forth. I have managed to make it through a romance novel. It was based off of a dare, but I have managed to make it through a romance novel. And I have to tell you right now, if that's what fucking women want, if that's their fucking perfect man, I'm going to tell you right now, you all are going to fail. You're going to fail horribly. There is no man that exists like that. Not one. Want to know how I can say that with such conviction? Because no self-respecting man is going to let themselves get that fucking whipped. Not even a cuck will do that. That's an issue. But that's beside the point. But honestly, I think women do want companionship. It's just they don't know what companionship is anymore. And here's a secret to any women that might watch this afterwards. And I don't think I really have to say it to the women that are actually here in this live stream. But here's a tip to the women that might be watching afterwards. Companionship does not equate to the other person always capitulating to you, to always agreeing with you, to always doing your bidding. That is not companionship. That's called owning a slave. That is the opposite of companionship. Because no true love can be born from that. And that's just the pure and simple truth of it. It's a very sad truth, but it is a truth. A lot of women sit there and say that there's all these different things standing in the way of them finding love when their biggest hurdle is themselves and how they view men. And here's a real statistic that I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to kind of end this on. But since we're talking about Holy Blade's hyper-whipped older brother who's planning on suicide relatively soon by way of marriage, just consider this. Once a couple gets married, their average frequency of sex, unless they are specifically trying for a child, drops down to almost nil. As soon as that contract is signed, as soon as that ring is on her finger, she no longer feels like she has to be a physical companion to him. That her just merely existing is enough to satisfy all of his urges and all of his needs. And a man who bitches about his wife not having any sex drive anymore, when before they were having sex every other day, or every day, or even multiple times during a day, having sex in fun, exciting new locations, trying out the entire plethora of sexual maneuvers out there, having run through the Kama Sutra 3 fucking times just to make sure that they didn't miss any, and then all of a sudden going to nothing except to use the man as a utility, as a vector for the woman to have a child. I want you to think about that. When he bitches about that, he's called a pig. He's told that there must be something wrong with him, that it's his fault. Now, imagine the reversal of that. Imagine if a guy started refusing sex to his wife. In fact, you don't have to, because that ended up happening. And when the divorce happened, the woman was able to sue for an extra $10,000 above the normal bullshit, saying that he sexually neglected her. Even though it was proven that every time he tried to get things moving, she said no. She denied him. She won that $10,000. Well, you see, Valaria, here's the thing about me, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to throw this out here. Whenever I'm in a relationship, sex is one of the only ways that I am actually capable of showing love anymore. And I know that that sounds like a typical cop-out, but it's true. Physical love is some of the only love that I can show anymore to a romantic partner. But let's just say this. At that point, I do become emotionally attached. But at the same time, I then realize that I am now set up for pain. And that starts weighing heavily on my psyche. And you see, love, here's the thing. Love is real. It's a chemical cocktail. That's what it is. It's a bunch of feel-good hormones and chemicals fizzing around in your head. That's what love is. I agree wholeheartedly with that. Love is. The way men love is not the same way that women love. Oh, no, 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 no. The thing is lust is a very different thing. But love is actually its own chemical cocktail. Lust and love have two very different stuff. They're two very different things, both as far as their meaning and as far as the chemical concoction that's released. But the thing is when I said physical love, I don't just mean sex itself. I also mean, you know, just sleeping next to the person, just being close to them, hugging, kissing, that sort of thing. Doesn't even have to lead to sex. Just connecting with that person. Of course, an emotional connection is always nice, but it's very difficult to do nowadays. In fact, I've actually had a few past girlfriends sit there and say that I was the most cuddly motherfucker they'd ever been with after the fact. In fact, I had one that sat there and said that she knew that she had fucked it up and that I wouldn't come back to her because she knows that I don't do the whole, break up, get back together, get back to, break up, get back together. I don't do that shit. So she knew that, but she sat there and said that she knew that she had fucked up and that she had been with a couple of other guys and she had never felt a connection anywhere near that. And so it's just one of those things. A lot of women think that they can always have more. Once they reach the pinnacle, it's still one of those things where they think they can have more or that they deserve more. And I'm going to say this right now, ladies, when you overshoot, it's all downhill from there, and you've got a lot of momentum going, so you're hitting the bottom of the opposite side of the hill. Oh, and the thing is love. That's the reason why I actually, quite a few streams ago, made a reference to where I was all like, yeah, you know what? My favorite song that I can sit there and relate to MGTOW is Shot Through the Heart. And people get on me about that, but I'm like, you know what? It's true. If you listen to the fucking song, try to deny it. Well, Valaria, if you can go ahead and actually take all this on board and when the opportunity comes up for you to fuck someone over, you actually resist that instinct to do so, then someone then someone that gets with you will be a very lucky person, because at that point you will become a Nawalt. And honestly, at this point, I truly think that Nawalts are just uh, fictional creatures at this point. But that's because I'm old and jaded, and I have gotten to the point where I have lost quite a bit of hope in women. They can still come out of the gutter, but it's definitely an underdog fight, because there are so many women out there that are hell-bent on destruction. And you know what? The thing is she gives it a shot with a guy and it legitimately doesn't work out. If she has that horn on her forehead, then she can go ahead and be a lesbian and not even need a strap on. So, I mean, that's a thing, right, Carly? Very true, very true. Women have to earn a happy life now because it's no longer being handed to them. Because the thing is guys have been trying to earn a happy life for how long now? How many decades? How many centuries? Now let me go ahead and ask you what's been stopping us. It isn't us. You can sit there and say society, but as we've discussed so far, who's really in charge of society and its standards? Let's just say this. It isn't the ones that are considered guilty until proven innocent. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to end the stream here because I have family dinner coming up. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Always appreciate the interaction. And yeah, go ahead, keep going out there, keep finding your information, figure out the truth from the bullshit. Well, Valaria, I'll just go ahead and explain it right now. A NAWALT stands for not all women are like that. And it's basically sitting there and saying that you're searching for a unicorn. Hence the horn on forehead reference. And basically what it is it's a woman that's able to go against her programming, actually be able to show loyalty to a guy on a plane higher than all that. You know, actually sitting there and even if nobody's watching, still doing the right thing. Not going out and fucking around on a guy that's going out working a double shift at a 10-hour a day job to support her ass, and her going out and fucking the neighbor who's a loungeabout bullshitter or the fucking mailman that stops by. Her knowing how to be a true fucking partner. And there's a lot of men like Love here that sit there and say that they don't exist, and I can't blame them because, like I said, it's like trying to find a unicorn. You might find a lot of fakes, but the thing is the odds of you finding a true one, a real one, are about the same odds as you finding a unicorn. And quite frankly, before I think that there couldn't be any NAWALTs, I think that society is going to have to go through a whole lot of changes. In fact, it's going to have to go through an entire overhaul. But again, that comes down to how women are instructed to view men. And like I said, I can't blame people like Love and Warrior. Because the thing is I personally haven't seen one. Closest thing I've seen is my mother, who's actually looked out for me and who's actually stepped up and done the right thing by me and Dad. But even she sits there and tells me that there was a time where she was thinking about leaving my father. And it would have been a straight up monkey branch move. So I can't even call her a NAWALT. Because the thing is she was seriously thinking about it. So that's what a NAWALT is. I mean, at least that's a general review of it. And like I said, I watch hentai, so nothing shocks me anymore. But yeah, like I said, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to end the stream here. Again, thank you everyone for coming. Glad I was able to give some enlightenment there. Put out some information. I'll talk to everyone later. I'm going to be going ahead and contacting Dilgaff, see if he wants to do a stream tomorrow. Even if he doesn't want to do a stream tomorrow, I'll still do it myself. And I'll talk to y'all later. Have yourselves a good one.